there any way we could focus on getting help for cities like mine?
Yes. I can't say that we have $30 million, so I can walk through what our funding structure is. But as far as helping our little communities with their funding struggles and dealing with at least the facilities planning and the infrastructure planning and getting you grant ready, that is more what we could probably help with. Okay, but our goal with our program is we receive lottery dollars from the state. So 2.3% of all lottery sales goes to the counties in Oregon, and Marion County's little chunk of that goes to our economic development program. And the point of those dollars is to promote efforts that bring new growth, new jobs, promote the retaining of current jobs, and just general economic development. So supporting our communities with beautification or tourism is also part of that. It doesn't necessarily have to be direct business, but definitely anything that's promoting economic growth in the county. And our annual revenue generally, and obviously it varies depending on how the economy is doing, but for this upcoming year, we're anticipating $2 million in revenue. So that's how much we generally bring in from lottery dollars each year. And we take those dollars as best as we can and try to leverage them for other monies. So for this current fiscal year, we have anticipated $19 million in grant funding that was leveraging those lottery dollars to be able to bring even more money to our communities. And I have to admit, most of that money is because of the canyon. So a lot of our efforts go towards wildfire recovery right now, efforts that support the canyon as they redevelop. But we'd love to be able to expand our reach and really work with all of our communities because our focus has been very much on the canyon for 3 years. And we continue and will continue to do that. We want to make sure we're more equitable in our outreach. So the second page has a very pretty, colorful table that covers some of our current projects. But really, I'm here to talk to the communities and figure out what you would like to see. But some of our current projects, we have kind of 3 areas of focus. One is just lottery distribution. So these are our grant funding that go out directly to our communities. One of those is the Community Prosperity Initiative. So that's the $15,000 that each of our cities are able to receive each year to support your economic development efforts. We have an IGA with you for that. And I cannot remember what you said that you used it on last fiscal year, but we'll be working with you guys for this upcoming fiscal year, or I guess I should say the current fiscal year. It's well into it by now. And then our 2 other areas of focus are business and workforce. So we have some workforce efforts with Willamette Workforce Partnership, with SEDCOR, and then we also have a major focus in infrastructure and economic investments. So supporting tourism efforts, supporting a lot of the efforts up in the canyon, like I mentioned. So the North Santiam Sewer Authority, the Detroit Marinas excavation, and then Opal Creek Promise. These are some dollars coming in for supporting those communities for wildfire recovery. The next page shows our strategy project timeline. Basically, we're at the beginning. We're wanting to hear from our communities, hear from our stakeholders on what is important to you and what your priorities are. We're going to take all that information and compile it into a draft strategy and then get that out to our communities and our stakeholders so you can look at it, see if we caught everything you mentioned or if we missed anything, and then get that pulled together and approved by our Board of Commissioners towards the end of this year, early 2024.
So you need our feedback by December, is that right, or October?
Ideally by mid-October, but there's no mandatory timeline. I've got 20 cities to hit, and you're actually my first one, and a couple of them will go into November. So I'd say your latest and greatest would be mid-November, but ideally mid-October so we can get it incorporated. And then the last page of this slide deck has a couple QR codes for surveys. There's a public survey for anybody out in the audience who'd like to participate. You're welcome to receive any input from anyone out in the community. And then there's also a more local government survey that's more focused on you as an entity and what your goals are as a city. So with that, I have my contact information on the last slide, and I'd love any feedback or questions, I also have a little flyer if anyone out in the audience would like a flyer with the QR codes as well.
I think, may I have the floor?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it was 10 or 12 years ago, we worked with Nick at Citgo.
Yeah.
Give Michael the mic. 10 or 12 years ago, I think we worked with Nick at Citgo and did do a revitalization. And we got all the way through the program, right to the last minute, and with, like, funding fell through, or our grant didn't come through, but we wanted to work on our facade here on
Uh-huh.
4th Street. And we've done really far, but we need more funding to go further.
Okay.
Anyone else on the
Thank you, Kelly, and we'll get to work on this.
Great. Thank you so much for your time.
John, can we make a note to address this in October?
Yep. Betcha.
Now we're gonna talk about old business, city charter update strategy. And John, you have some information for us?
The question that,
Your microphone.
you're right. At the last meeting, the council walked through a draft of a proposed amendment to the city charter. And basically handed it to me to work with our attorneys on refining that draft, put it in good legal format, and bring it back to you for consideration so that you can send it out to the voters. And also to get assistance from the city attorney in that actual process of taking it out to the voters. So we're with you tonight knowing that we're going to probably see the termination of the contract with the existing city attorneys. I went to our alternative source that you had suggested, which is the Council of Governments, because they do provide legal services. And you can see that in the information I provided you, their quote was $8,500 for the work, which I found a bit distressing. So this evening, the question before you is, in order to take on legal services for assisting with the review of the charter, I'm gonna need some direction from you if that proposal from the COG is correct, or if you want to maybe even set this over to later in tonight's meeting after we discuss the city attorney. Might be appropriate to do that and decide if you wanna assign this to the, if we actually go into a process of retaining a city attorney or an interim attorney.
I think that's reasonable, because I am not okay with $8,500, because we already redlined, and the language that was put in, we adopted from Hubbard, that was actually written by the attorneys we have right now. So it's in good form, and the other changes were very minute. So I'm gonna ask council to please wait.
Can I have the floor?
Yep.
John, my question is to you. We would pay the $85 or $8,500 to have this done. After that's done, then we still would have to run it by our new attorneys, and they would have to go over it, and we'd have to pay them too, correct?
Well, we wouldn't have to, I would say. You don't need the blessing from the attorneys. And if the first attorney's blessed it, I don't think you'd actually have to do it. But on the other hand, you probably would want to ask the attorneys to take a look at it and make sure that they concur. It wouldn't be $8,500 worth of review, but it still would be several $100, perhaps even more than that, to do it second time around. All in all, I was quite aghast at the prospect of $8,500, knowing how much work had already gone into drafting it. And I think you'd be well advised to find a less expensive alternative.
I concur, because I worked with Ms. Clifton, and we redlined, and we had it laid out for them as to what changes we actually wanted. We worked for weeks on it, and I feel it's prepared enough that it should just be checked for language, council.
No, I'm good with that.
Are you guys, Rob, are you good?
You gotta use your microphone.
Perfect.
Okay, we'll move that over until after we have the attorney discussion, which we are going to discuss right now. Option B, city attorney contract. And I'm gonna go ahead and start that. by saying that the council has decided that we want to sever, and they've been with us a long time, they've done a good job for us, but we are just heading in two different directions in thought. I have,
Can I point out, the council has not decided.
Oh,
You won't do that until you have a motion to actually terminate the contract.
okay.
can I do that now?
Be a good time to do it.
Council, can I get a motion to terminate the contract? What I was getting at is, we do have to have an interim in place when we do that to make sure we're covered, which you guys, we do have one available.
John, I have a question for you. Can we make that motion and terminate the contract before we ratify the new contract with the new attorney? Are we gonna be set in the middle here without an attorney?
No, that's why, the mayor's point about retaining the services of an interim is an important thing. Plus also, Barry Elsner has said that they will, essentially, well, our contract requires a 30-day notice, and so they're prepared to work with us for that 30 days. We have some pending cases. We have 2 pending lawsuits, so we need time to have the Barry Elsner team transfer their interest in that and all their knowledge of those 2 suits to someone new. And there are several other things in which they have active files in terms of like code enforcement and things like that. So there's a couple different ways to go. One is to do a request for qualifications for a new attorney, and that was in the agenda packet, the paperwork for doing that, and you'll see that time frame stretched out to December before the council really could actively get a new attorney. If you followed that path, you would need to get Barry Elsner, or ask Barry Elsner to stay on until a new attorney is selected, meaning they'd stay on for another 4 months. If you chose this evening to instead go with an interim attorney, then we don't need that 4-month of extension. The 1-month extension would work adequately.
And I have spoke to Jordan Ramus. Edward Twomke has more than willing to take us on as a client. In fact, he's excited to. Jordan Ramus is one of the top 3 attorneys, law firms in the state of Oregon. Our city manager pro tem has worked with him in, I believe, Damascus, and they have a good working relationship. And I really liked his philosophy that he is here to advise, not govern. And I would encourage us to go ahead with this tonight.
Okay, that being said then, I would like to make a motion to sever the contract with Barry Elsner, the attorneys.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
I'm gonna do a roll call on this. Councilman Harvey,
Yes.
Councilman Ramon,
Yes.
Councilman Gregory,
Yes.
Councilman Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilman Ladd.
Yes.
Unanimously, the motion carries, so moved.
I'll prepare a letter tomorrow for your signature, since the attorneys work directly for the council, they don't work for the city manager, so we'll have you do that.
I also have a contract ready, and I've shared it with the council tonight to go ahead and enact hiring Jordan Ramus. He sent me the contract earlier. Have you all had a chance to look at it?
Andy, let's be clear, let me make sure you're clear, this is for an interim assignment,
Correct.
not for permanent placement.
Correct. If we go over $50,000, which with the current status of these problems that our city managers just informed us of, could happen, then we will need to put a request for proposal out. And if they're working out good for us, I also know they would take us on for a contract.
Very good.
Okay, so I'll need a motion, I believe, or if you have questions.
Oh, I do have a question. So the cost of these attorneys, is it comparable to what we've been paying?
I think it might be a little bit better.
Yeah, I think their hourly rate is slightly better.
I'm all for that.
And he is not charging us. I have spoken to him and he is willing to waive any retainer for us. So, yeah, he is just really, really well renowned for his municipal law. He will be bringing in Peter Hicks and another fellow, I can't remember his name, for the team. We will be well covered.
Okay, if everybody else doesn't mind, I'd like to make a motion to accept the Jordan Ramus contract for interim attorney.
I'll second that.
I will call a roll call. Councilman Harvey,
Yes.
Councilman Ramon,
Yes.
Councilman Gregory,
Yes. Yes.
Councilman Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilman Ladd.
Yes.
The motion carries, so moved. I will call Edward tonight. Next, we have some guests with us tonight for the school district request for assistance with storm drainage issue. I'm not sure how we're supposed to proceed.
Why don't I lead off with the presentation, and then Andy Stevens, the school superintendent, will be available to fill in my gaps and to answer your questions.
I'm good with that, thank you.
And there are handouts that they brought with them, so let's go ahead and hand those out. Yeah, would you go ahead and just hand? This is a very interesting and somewhat difficult policy decision for the city council to consider. The school district at their administrative offices has, as you probably know, a gravel parking lot that extends back behind the buildings. It's been there for a very long time. It's used for employee parking as well as other uses. So that's existed for a long time. The street was, of course, it's a city street, and a number of years back, it received a 2-inch lift of asphalt. In other words, it was repaved, and in the process of doing that, the normal 6 inches of barrier that a curb presents at the edge of the street was reduced to 4 inches or even perhaps even less than that. What this creates is the possibility, or a reality that a large puddle forms on the school district property. If you look at the map that's in front of you, you can see where that driveway goes into the school district property, and you can see where that blue car is that's parked toward the top of the photograph. There's a large puddle that forms in that area. With the paving of the school district parking lot, that entire area that you see that's off to the right side of the drawing or the photograph, they want to be able to drain that area back out to the street and to be able to tie it into our storm drain line. Because of the extra depth of asphalt, it becomes very difficult to make that work without doing a significant regrading of the driveway that would raise it. In fact, there's drawings in here that basically show, if you go to the second page, you can see where this work would happen to raise that area. And in fact, if you go to, well, I'll let them walk through the drawings with you. What it means is that in order to get a proper grade to solve the drainage problems on the site, they have to expend about $77,000 in the area where that blue and those white cars are in there. $77,000 on the school district property to raise that up to the degree to where it will effectively drain back out onto the city street. Their contention is that if the city street was still at its original height, that this wouldn't be necessary or would be substantially less involved. What the district is asking is for the city to cover the $77,000 of that cost. The reality, I would just tell you now, so that you have the background for your conversation with the superintendent amongst yourselves, the reality is that we do not have that money in the city budget. In the city budget, in storm drainage funds, we have about $30,000 that's already committed to a number of small projects around the community. No other money is available that can be used for this. We have projects that are in our capital improvements program for storm drainage that go in the years to come, and the tradition of the council appropriately is to bring those projects forward and to commit to those that are already on our project list before looking at things that are off the list. The reality is that if you wanted to assist the school district with funding, it would mean taking existing projects off our project list. There just literally are no other dollars. The only other thing that you could do is consider expending general fund dollars and pulling those out of other general fund projects or our contingency fund to possibly help with this. So while I could be sympathetic to the district's position and their request, and the fact that they're suggesting that it's the city responsibility, it's a policy decision on your part whether you accept that as true or not, and then also we just don't have the funding in the near future to look at helping with this project unless we probably dip into general fund. So there's a serious policy decision for you to consider. I suggest that we bring Dandy forward to sit and talk with you and answer your questions, and she can fill in a lot of gaps in my presentation.
I have a question for Kyle. Kyle, is some of that 30,000 to help fix the problem on 6 and 7 that the people have been waiting years for on that storm drain?
Primarily, yes.
And for you, John, on our budget, do we have a firm grip on things yet? Because we just went through a real major catastrophe, and have we gotten the things we need? Have we had a look right now at what we're gonna have to replace there from our general fund perhaps? I mean, do you guys know what the water problem's gonna cost?
No, we don't yet. That's a very high priority for us to get to the bottom of what is it gonna cost to do the repairs. And then coupled with that is, are we gonna repair back to as it was, even though we know we need a lot more capacity in that system and upgrades of systems? Our position is as long as we're fixing it, we should fix it right, which will be more money.
Yeah, the
even.
switchgear could be $500,000.
Sure, and we know that we'll be going for U.S. Department of Agriculture grants for this and perhaps other grants, but we don't know the answer yet because we don't know the numbers yet of what we need.
And then another question for you, Dandy.
Dandy, would you mind coming up?
Sure. So we can grab that chair, yes. Or maybe that chair, sorry.
My question is this, that joint grant writer, could we pay that $5,000 and look at getting funds for this? Could we make that a priority?
Hilda will do whatever we ask her to do. So if we get direction that we need her to look for something in particular, she will put her feelers out and start coming up with ideas as she's able to. Yeah, for sure.
Well, that's a conversation we'll have to have, but I also need to talk to council about what they think is our responsibility, of course.
Mayor, can I have the floor? This question would be probably for Kyle. Kyle, I was in the culvert business for over 25 years, and also I have some experience with this similar type of situation. I know that the true fix is to do what you're saying, elevate the grade and make everything run to the city. In these similar situations here in Marion County, in the culvert company, it was not uncommon to have catch basins with sump pumps that pump a lift to our system, which is considerably less expensive than doing the whole grade